there's going to be an off-ramp right here. So just take it to the right.
As the escorts for the procession,
Because we're leaving at 11:15, right?
these state troopers from Seattle will lead the way.
So the whole state, from the governor on down to us lowly troopers, are rallying around these families.
They drank their coffee by 8.
3 more are going to come for sure.
Because at 9, they helped dozens convert this Big Lots lot
wanting 5 cases of water
to a staging area.
The family is being picked up multiple locations, being brought in by State Patrol escort.
Kevin Garland with the Kent Fire Department organized the effort.
Diagonal. We're just going to keep it simple. We're going to use these lines.
More than 500 emergency responders answered the call.
There's the federal agencies, there's the state agencies, there's the fire departments.
They responded so they could honor and remember the 3 U.S. Forest Service firefighters who died nearly 2 weeks ago protecting this state. Andrew Zajac, Richard Wheeler, and Tom Bashevsky.
They died doing their jobs.
Justin Hughes is with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Fire Service out of Spokane. He's the driver of one of more than 100 emergency vehicles in today's procession.
It's not about fighting fire as much as it is when it comes down to it, and all hell's breaking loose about the men and women that are standing right next to you.
Today was a way to say thank you.
They're very brave. They're very unselfish.
Chris Brownson and Karen Gregory didn't know the fallen firefighters, but they were in their seats a half hour early.
I was at Lake Chelan when it broke out 2 weeks ago, and I couldn't get down here fast enough.
By 11:15, their gratitude was on full display as this convoy of courage drove a 4-mile path through downtown Wenatchee.
They're wonderful men.
Just so incredibly thankful for their sacrifice.
Paige Vale nearly lost her cabin to the wildfire in Chelan.
Well, our community has been affected by these fires for weeks.
Even after more than 100 homes burned, today's loss hits the hardest.
It's pretty devastating to our community.
Especially for Dave Nail and the 28 members of the U.S. Forest Service who lined the street and said goodbye to 3 teammates.
So when we have a loss like this, it's very hard for all of us to come to grips with.
As the worst wildfire in Washington history continues to burn, people here knew, at least for today, it was okay to stop.
It gives us the opportunity to honor those folks that we serve with on a regular basis.
Tom, Andrew, and Richard deserve this respect.
It's really hard.
With photojournalist Dan Renzetti, I'm Alex Rozier.
Rest in peace, gentlemen. Rest in peace.
King 5 News.
From the moment you get here, you know it's election season on Orcas Island.
You see all the signs and comes up in casual conversation.
People are talking about it a lot, especially at the farmers market on Saturdays.
There are 5 candidates for mayor, and as it turns out, they're the only ones not talking.
Bentley, you feel like you should be mayor? Selling taxes. What should be done about property taxes on the island?
Because they don't speak human.
Affordable housing, Oliver. What's your stance?
It's the 7th annual running for the mayor of East Sound, a ferocious but charitable competition that ends tomorrow. Votes equal donations that benefit a nonprofit preschool.
Why do you think you're a better mayor than Granny? Hi, Lewis. Lewis, you can't avoid the questions forever.
There's Lewis, the sheepdog.
I have been wanting Lewis to run. I've been encouraging him for years.
Sully, the corgi.
She's the youngest candidate, so she has the freshest, brightest ideas.
Bentley, the cocker spaniel.
Is lovable and adorable enough to get you into office?
Around here, yeah.
Oliver, the parrot.
He's got a lot of unique qualities. He's not a mammal.
And leading the pack.
To interview the 5th candidate for mayor, we had to come all the way out to the Salish Sea because Granny doesn't live on land. She lives out here.
There you go.
Granny is the 103-year-old head of J-Pod and wants to be mayor for some reason.
Granny, what's your stance on affordable housing?
Granny's campaign sent us this recorded statement.
She has the most experience and by far the biggest brain of the lot.
Even though the candidates are cute, the campaign has been marred by accusations and controversy.
I feel like the whale has an unfair advantage.
For the rest of the dogs, size does matter.
Every vote towards Sully, they got a free slush puppy. And then today...
Is that a bribe?
Yes.
Are you talking about a bribe?
We bribe.
A startling admission.
But I wouldn't count out the
Good
other.
thing political science professors Lena Mosley and Andrew Reynolds summer on Orcas.
I think the latest Supreme Court decision opened the door to slushes in return for votes. I haven't seen this much vote buying since I was in Afghanistan.
Hey guys, can I ask you something?
Children's House stages the election, so where better to hold a focus group?
Who wants to tell me who they're voting for first?
Oliver.
And tell him why Oliver's your favorite.
Because he's cute and fluffy.
$1 equals 1 vote.
This is the first time we've had a whale, so that's what makes it a little bit more interesting, but we've had cows and goats and so on.
Do you think that if Oliver became mayor, he'd be able to do something about education?
Yeah.
What about affordable housing?
No.
What about streets?
No.
Right now, Granny is way in front.
Go get your ball.
But the race is not over. Votes and donations still count. And a political fight with an honorary title on the line has once again unified an island with its uniqueness. In East Sound, John Langland, King 5 News.
Look long enough at this makeshift toy box and you might see more than a plastic bin filled with blocks. At the corner of 9th and Stewart in downtown Seattle, it's filled with potential, at least in the eyes of 7-year-old Aiden.
Yeah, these are good.
Blocks become bricks, kids become contractors,
Arrow just on it.
and together with 8-year-old Mikkel,
Is it gonna fall?
a house built out of creativity begins to take shape.
Perfect.
I mean, when you really look at it, it's pretty amazing.
Amazing, because the boys are dreaming up and hoping for a perfect place to live.
Yes.
Even as Aiden and Mikkel sit homeless in the basement of Mary's Place shelter for women and children.
Yay!
It is exactly
Hello.
what Bob Mitchell envisions when he gets on an elevator every single morning.
You're going down. We have a couple of others to go down.
Though the basement he's headed to is not in a homeless shelter.
People don't even know it's here.
It is tucked away deep inside Bayview Retirement Community on Queen Anne Hill.
I'm supposed to be on oxygen most of the time.
And instead of playing with blocks,
So I take 1-hour breaks off the oxygen.
this 87-year-old
This in
is making them.
and cut it off. I'd rather do this and go down in the exercise room and pull on weights.
In the beginning, the project was just that, an alternative way for Bob to stay active.
I have a problem called adrenal insufficiency, which is another name is Addison's disease. Just an energy problem.
But when he looked long enough at his first carefully crafted set, Bob saw the same thing as the kids back at Mary's Place.
So the wheels don't come off.
Endless potential in each tiny piece of wood.
With blocks, there's so much that they can learn.
And so this retired teacher started sending his blocks to the homeless shelter and the underprivileged children who live there.
I think it gives him a kind of pleasure that nothing else can right now when he's limited as to what he actually can do. So we're really proud of him.
I think there are 14 or 15 kids there.
And while this photo taped to the woodshop door is the closest he's come to seeing the kids in action, on this day, it serves as motivation to make the trip to 9th and Stewart.
Bob, you want to run the front? Right here is fine.
And hand deliver the gifts he makes by hand.
Hello, this is Bob Mitchell with Blocks for Tots.
For the very first time. A long-awaited visit.
There we are.
And the man behind the blocks they love so much at the shelter.
Greetings, hi.
Bob passes them out in personalized purple bags, and little Xavier shows his off for the camera.
Okay, this is your very own set of blocks.
Then
Take
Mikkel,
with you wherever you go.
Thank you.
grateful. The director of Mary's Place tells us because toys are hard to come by and hard to travel with for families who wind up on the streets.
Most children have left everything behind. What you take with you when you leave that night and your mom tells you you're not going to return to your home is really just your basic necessities.
My name is right here. If you can see it, it's Aydan. And you want to see what's in there?
Our friend Aiden can barely contain his excitement.
Here we go.
And just when we thought the smile on Bob's face couldn't get any bigger.
So cool. And here's the guy who gave it to me.
Watch
Way over here.
what a very appreciative Aiden does next.
Here's the guy who gave this to me.
This is what joy looks like.
Bob gave it to me.
A child with a toy to call his own.
That's it. And in this purple box, I can keep it.
Maybe a set of blocks, but it's really everything that these families are working on. Building, hoping, dreaming.
It's a very strong tower.
And that's all Bob ever wanted.
That's fantastic.
Now you know why this is so much more than a plastic bin filled with blocks.
Coolest thing I ever built.
It's both a hobby for him and a sense of purpose.
And to see that nobody's telling anybody what it ought to look like.
Proof.
Everybody's doing their own discovery.
As Bob heads back to his other favorite basement.
Give him a high five for all your blocks.
You're never too old or young to dream.
What a stack, what a stack.
In Seattle.
How about I get back and start building?
Heather Graff.
Bob the Builder.
King 5 News.